You
Hello,
type it in.
welcome to.
No, keep doing what you're doing. I'm good. I'm just typing it in.
Okay. Hello, and welcome to Hidden Existence. So everybody is doing all right out there tonight. With me as always, Jason. How are you doing?
Quite well. Quite well. How art
Yeah,
thou?
I'm all right. Getting
Thou
through.
art fine.
Thou art fine. Getting through
Yeah.
the week
I
and the
see you're still
weekend.
all festive for the holidays.
I've took everything down apart from these lights. Do you think? And the lights outside my front door and my window are still flashing. I'm the only
Mm-hmm.
one on the street now. But in fairness, people were putting trees up in October.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh yeah.
I started a bit late and I'll take mine down a bit later probably. But the tree's down, and
Yeah.
um I'm just putting
Oh,
these.
my tree's still up. I'm just giving you crap because I can, but my tree
Oh,
is still fully up. I have really no interest in taking my tree down.
they're pretty, aren't they? What's the
Yeah.
point in putting it up and then taking it down and put it back up again
See,
every year?
that's what I'm saying. We don't need Christmas lights, but we need our yearly festive lights.
Yeah. I do have kind of lights going on all the time. I don't know why not. Why we don't do that, instead of just waiting for Christmas
Mm-hmm.
to do it. Um, Hello to everyone in the chat. I hope everybody is doing all right out there. Who've we got in? Don't normally say hi to people in the chat. Well, I do, don't I? But it's
Well,
nice to
you
say
say
hello.
howdy, but you don't single them out.
Nice to say howdy. Well, maybe I might tonight. So, hello,
Let's
Gary
try it.
Spikes. Gary Spikes Senior's in. How are you doing? Bat Mom is in. Jean, Dorothy Wade, Linwood, Sandra Piper. So I can't remember if I've said that twice now. I don't want to start repeating things. Jean Hudson, Sandra Piper,
Gene Hudson. Gene.
Gary
Gene
Spikes
Hudson.
Senior, Texas
Again.
Jack, Riga Ridge is in, and
Addie Overbay. Ray
Sharon.
Daw.
Yeah, oh, it's Ray Doy. Hi, how you
Yeah.
doing? Got a few in tonight. Started a bit late,
Kathy.
sorry. We were working on our content for our show tonight, and we did.
Is that what we're calling it now?
Well, I do love doing Sunday nights, and
Yes.
anything goes, and I love doing it with you. But like you said
Oh.
before we started the show, it's kind of like the end of the week, isn't it? And the weekend, and it's when you want to wind down, and like the
Mm-hmm.
last thing you want to do is, you know, start doing research and stuff. Not that I've ever done it on a Sunday night, but it's hard because you're tired and you've got stuff to do before the week starts again. So
Yep.
we said, we're just gonna kick back and tonight and literally
Mm-hmm.
just go with the flow like we do every single Sunday.
It's just
Uh,
we've been doing this for what, over a year now. We might as well just admit it. This is not going to be this is just never the most organized show
no, not ever.
because we're done with the week. It's like we're done with all the crap, and Monday is there. Like Monday is sitting there taunting us. This show is a collective running away, screaming from Monday, like a toddler with a Pop Tart they're not supposed to have. Right? Like
Yeah,
that's what we're doing. We're
absolutely.
running away from Monday, and we just want to have a good time. We don't have to think too hard.
Just hiding, aren't we? Hiding
Yeah.
from what's to come. We just want to make it as fun as
Hmm.
possible. Now I'm jealous, you see, because Jodie, hi all, in bed. Oh, how nice. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, midnight. That would be nice to be in
It
bed.
would.
I should do the show from bed one night because
You
it
should.
does get late.
Well, I mean, it would be that sounds like more of an OnlyFans channel, but sure. I mean,
Okay, maybe something I could do members only to start with, see how
hmm
the response goes. And, I will have my bed hat on
I'll have
and
to.
my flannel net nightgown. Oh, you'll have to
Yeah, that's what I'm
join
saying.
me. Yeah,
Yeah,
we could both be in bed, but not together,
yeah, because
kind
that
of
would
thing.
be way too much of a commute for me.
Yeah,
Plus,
maybe.
I've asked my wife won't let me have concubines, so
Oh, well, there you go then.
yeah.
We've that sorted that out. Um, Jason, when are we sending? Sending the box, the goodie box.
Like probably in a week or two. I mean, I got it's not like we're rushing anything.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
the pressure's on a little bit.
yeah. Apparently, I didn't realize that
Yeah.
was going to be a thing. All right. I mean, I was going to send you the box anyway, but I just didn't think it was going to be. Now the problem is, I want to see if they can send it ground.
What? Send it
Send you the box ground.
ground.
Oh, it's you. Okay, you may not have that as an option. So, like for FedEx or in a lot of places, we have like overnight or priority overnight. Then there's like regular. Then there's ground.
Oh, right. Is that
And
the
ground is
slowest?
it's well. So here's the thing from Texas. Interesting fact from as far as FedEx is concerned, because I used to work with them. FedEx ground is basically anywhere within the continental United States from the state of Texas is almost 3 days exactly for anything.
Okay.
3 to 4 days on
Yeah.
average, if you're because Texas is centralized, so it's basically it doesn't matter where as long as it's continental United States. Alaska is its own thing. Sorry, Iron Dogger, I can't ground you. A package.
Well, she's moving to Oregon this week.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, it's happening.
There's
So
definitely less snow there.
oh God, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot more. But why Oregon? It's full of crazy people.
Reasons.
Okay.
I
mean, it's all
there's
right.
a good
Yeah.
reason. There's a good reason.
Okay.
Oh well, you tell us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike, for keeping our spirits up with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's making us feel like we're putting something good out. I think we are, though. I think
we do.
Just,
it is. This is good for your mental health. And again, my question about Iron Dog is again, I don't need personal details or anything. It was just more of a. It was a rhetorical question because Oregon's got nut jobs right now.
Oh right.
Yeah, my sister-in-law lives there, so I know she's one of them.
Oh, I see. Oh,
yeah.
Do you want to share some more details about that?
I mean, I'd be happy to. I don't think my wife would.
All right then. We better not.
Yeah, that's a question. That's a conversation for off here.
Delve into people's business. People like to do that though on the internet. They love to delve
into
business.
Oh my gosh. My gosh. That has happened the last 2 weeks on someone you probably know nothing about. Okay. I'm just saying they're not anyone I know anybody. I don't know them personally or anything like that, but an individual who has a bit of a following did something on another person's show that's not on any of our shows, right?
Okay.
I'll use names. It's all public anyway. So Jack Murphy is a guy. If you know the name, you know the name. He was on Elijah Schaefer and Sydney Watson's show just before Christmas, like the last show of the year. I mean, straight up, just blows up, and it has turned in like everyone actually directly involved was like, we're cool with it, and then the internet turned this dude's life upside down, and some weird crap is coming out. So.
Oh dear.
Right there with you. It's like people love the dirt. Like they want to get in and dig the dirt. That's why I'm like, hey, I'm an open book over here. I'm a dude in an art desk. I've never said anything other than that because people like that dirt. Like, okay, great. You're moving to place. I mean, I don't care, but some people, man, they see like just the drop, like a drop of blood in the water. They are like piranhas.
Oh yeah.
Which is the correct
piranhas. Way we say piranhas.
Well, we say piranhas up here, but I live with the Colombian.
Oh, okay.
So they're piranhas.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, because that is the correct way to pronounce it.
Like
it
Parmesan. Like Parmesan.
Yeah. Okay. Parmesan. Yeah, Parmesan.
Parmesan.
Yeah, Parmesan.
Speaking
of, I think we have a few words set aside for us, don't we?
Oh, we do. Oh, I was going to go into something else, but we'll go.
Oh no, go please go. I just figured we were already here.
Well, no, it was just that there are, people do love to listen to drama I mean,
yeah,
I know it is interesting, isn't it? Everybody likes to listen to a bit of drama, but there's a lot of it going around that is unnecessary, and especially on YouTube. And I think if you've got a channel, you have a real opportunity to show the best of yourself or something that you're interested in, or, sharing something with people. Yeah. I think when it's like on a negative scale where you're bashing people and that's all you're doing, it's not a good look. And I can't class that as content.
I don't either. Well, I mean, you've seen on, again, my Bible Study channel or whatever, I have options. I have plenty of opportunities to talk bad about people. I do my best not to. I'm with you. I think that there are ideas that matter, right? Because my thought is this: we've all screwed up somehow, some way. Cheese Freak Ginger Snap hasn't, but like
No.
we've all screwed up somehow, some way, pretty big. That's how you learn. That's how you learn. Wisdom comes from experience. Experience comes from making bad decisions. Um, we've all screwed up. We're all imperfect creatures. We're all trying to figure this thing out that we call life. There are bad people, there are good people, but I tend to think most people fall some good. I've seen good people do bad things. I've seen bad people do good things. I would rather deal with the ideas, right? Because YouTube is not a place to hash out problems with people. That's face to face. I believe if you got a problem with a person, you do it face to face. You
Mm.
don't do it on YouTube. I would rather talk about ideas because an idea can change a mind, and a changed mind changes life, right? I would rather just talk about ideas, even if it's just having fun. But I'd rather talk about ideas. I don't want to talk about people because there's a reason gossip is a deadly sin, right? I mean, people don't like it's listed right up there, and I think it's often missed. Like everyone likes to point to a few of the other sins. I'm like, right, but you're omitting all these others, and you're omitting gossip. Like, let's be
Mm.
honest, we don't even have like a news media anymore. We have a gossip mill. They're not reporting facts and ideas and content. They're just reporting gossip about people.
Mm.
I mean, that's you want to destroy a human being's life. Let gossip get out about it.
Yeah. I mean, it can cause a lot of damage for some
Hmm.
people. Personally, not me, but I'm
Right.
I'm tough. I don't take things personal from somebody I don't know who doesn't know me. I
Yep.
can't get offended by what they're saying because they don't know me. So the
Hmm.
judgment is completely wrong. For me, they're not. They don't
Yeah.
know all the sides of the story. But there's much, more sensitive people out there that doing stuff like this is not,
Hmm.
is not good for people's health.
It's
So,
not.
so yeah, truth is hurtful enough. Don't need stories that are wrong to
Oh,
go with that.
exactly.
It's fair enough.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely true. Again, I like my truth like I like my tea, cold and bitter. I
Yeah.
do unsweetened black tea personally. I'm like
Oh,
I just
I've got to have a bit of sugar. I've got a bit of
hmm
sugar,
yeah.
but that's me. Um, Question: Are you guys talking about me on other channels? I don't hate everyone. No, we're not talking about you. And this is the other thing. Um, I'm not talking about anybody. I'm
Yeah.
just talking generally. Uh, from what I see, the true crime community at the moment is in a mess. I've never seen so much backstabbing and bitchiness going on over a certain case at the moment. And I never used to. I used to think it's just in the Bigfoot community seem to have these
It's all of them.
blow
No.
ups, and these things happen, and then it goes calm again, and then there's something else. And then I've
Hmm.
seen it for myself recently on with the true
Hmm.
crime stuff, and this is just like you say, if you got a problem with someone, say it to them, and
If
keep it out
yeah.
of your content because
Hmm.
that's not. Pretty sure that's not what people want to come and
It's every
see you
community.
about.
Trust me, it's every community. You haven't seen hateful language until you've seen a Star Trek fan page. I swear it is just I mean, and I'm over here like, look, I mean, again, I got the stuff behind me. I got the bona fides here. But it's like, I'm sorry, did we miss the part where this is all make believe and we're gonna be doing, screaming and doing stuff that isn't this supposed to be fun? Which goes back to Sundays. Like this, we want this show to be fun, and which is why we're doing it. Like I said, we're not here to talk about anybody or bash anybody. We're just on this topic randomly. But it's like, let's just have fun with this. Like the world is hard enough on its own. We don't need, the world is just bad enough. It's evil enough. We don't need to cause more trauma. We don't need
No.
to cause more harm to people. Like why bother? Let's have fun. Let's talk about wolf chili being the greatest chili in the history of ever.
Ever,
Radar.
ever.
Yeah.
Um, Here's
Let's
a
see how to
word.
pronounce some cities.
This
Oh
is
my gosh.
this is a couple of miles away from me. Literally just
Okay.
up the road in the country.
All right. I would say that would be I'd pronounce it Queernmore.
Cornmer.
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 Yeah, it's a weird one,
More.
isn't it? To
Some
look
more.
at it.
I'm again, the ones I'm about to throw you are way weirder than that. So,
Well, this is one.
mm-hmm. This is a city in Texas.
I'd probably just say Bern.
You're almost you actually are very close. It's Bernie.
Bernie. Oh, yeah, I should have said Bernie.
So, but here's the thing, right? It's the problem is a lot of the Texas names are Spanish derivatives. So it's not actually, you know, they're so sometimes they're not even spelled correctly, but they're derived from the or even Indian languages. So that's where it's like it's an Indian language or like a Cherokee or whatever language being or a Caddo word being transliterated through Spanish into English. So it can get a little weird.
Yeah, very complicated.
This one, okay.
I'm gonna say Buddha.
It's technically Buda. There's a Y.
Buda.
Yeah.
There's a silent Y.
Well, again,
invisible.
it's an invisible Y, but it's Buda. And again, the reason for it is because it actually comes from originally a Spanish word. But and like I said, that's nowhere near how you'd spell it, but yeah.
Interesting.
In Spanish. But yeah, it's Buda.
And this is another place where you're from, near
yeah. It's like an hour and a half away from me.
Right.
In fact, I love great fishing. Great fishing.
So it's probably not Palestine, how it looks. It's probably like Palestine.
You're not far off. It would be Palestine. So you still do the palace, but it becomes een instead of ein. Yeah.
Ein. Okay.
Yeah.
And is this will have a Mexican the two L's there. I don't know if that's a Mexican thing. Llano.
Okay, so yes, if you were pronouncing it in Spanish, it would be llano, but it's actually Lano.
Okay.
Because again, we transliterated again. That's so like armadillo, right? It has two L's, so it should be It's a Spanish word, it should be armadillo, but we call it an armadillo.
Right. Okay.
But we call them tortilla chips. Like I'm like, can we just standardize the double L thing? Like we know it comes from Spanish. It should be a Y sound, but like over here it's Lano, but then over here it's tortilla chips. And I'm like, it's an armadillo. What the whatever. So
yeah. It's confusing, isn't it?
It is. Like there's no just random, like we don't call them tortilla chips, but whatever. But again, English is weird enough as it is, and then you bring in other languages and transliterate them.
What if you had to read Arabic?
Yeah.
I mean, you haven't even got a clue how to pronounce those words, let alone read it back to front.
Yeah. I'm terrible with Hebrew. Again, I try and, Bible Study Channel, I break out the Hebrew all the time. I'm like, and I preface everything with, do not quote me on how to pronounce anything. I'm a Texan. I don't even pronounce English correctly. Don't get me started on Hebrew.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
That's the true thing. Yeah, it's a weird and wonderful thing, is language. And I did try to. I learned a sort of Italian very young because my dad obviously was Sicilian. So I was actually learning Sicilian more than Italian, but I really struggled to learn French at school because it was so similar to Italian. I had a real block on learning French, but I really would love to learn more languages, just because I've been to a few places, and it would be great to go to just into any other country and be able to even just get your shopping, but get what you need, get from place to place. Pretty basic, but what does Texas?
Yeah, my dad loved Italian. He loved Italian. I am lucky to speak English. I tried. My Spanish is so bad. I passed with a C with my wife tutoring me through it, and that was as far as I got. I can't do it. I'm terrible with languages. But my dad loved Italian. for the reason because he loved going to Italy, and so he'd go and he wanted to talk to people in their language.
Yeah. That's the only way to learn, really, though, is to
Mm-hmm.
practice it, is to keep doing it. Danielle, if it makes you feel better, I know Texans that don't know how to pronounce all of those Texas towns. I feel better now.
No, you should. It is weird, but here's the problem. I'm going to put a little caveat on there. Some of these Texans are recent comers, right? They're refugees, and maybe they've only been here for a generation or so, or even maybe they're first generation Texas refugees. And yeah, okay, I get it. I'll give them a pass. But yeah, I mean, there are lots of people who have no idea how to pronounce any of this. And again, it's an experience thing.
Yeah, definitely. My mum was Polish, and I couldn't speak about 4 words. Just very different to Italian. But yeah. Oh, Sharon, my husband is fluent in 5 languages.
Ooh,
amazing.
Oh, I have nothing but props for polyglots. People who can just sit there and just crank out. Now I understand that, like, if it's like knowing like French, Spanish, and Italian is real easy because they're so similar in a lot of ways. Like my wife who speaks Spanish, they're learning Latin, but she already knows basically half the words anyway because they're all Latin derivatives.
Yes.
She's learning Latin with my son, so it's like, and the same thing with Italian. Like there are some words that I remember from Spanish that I recognize in like Italian or French because of because I studied Spanish.
Spanish seems to have similar words to Italian, but then totally different.
Yeah.
Some things that you think would be the same and they're not. And
that's
you go,
the Arabic.
wow.
It's the Arabic.
Right.
Because Spanish is, so like you have your Romance languages all come out of Latin, but Spanish, because people forget that Spain basically was the border between the Islamic Caliphate and Europe. For 700 years, Spain changed hands back and forth between the Arabs and the Spanish. And so what they found is, I think it's somewhere between a third to a half of all Spanish words come out of Arabic. So when you see these weird, just radical it's like all the other Latin languages seem to have the same word, and then all of a sudden Spanish is like way over here. It's because it's an Arabic word that they've adopted.
Right. Well, that would make a lot of sense then.
Yeah.
I can't really give you an example of what, but yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen the same thing, and I was like, wait a minute. In Latin, it's this. In French, it's this. In Italian, it's this. And in Spanish, it's this radical other word.
Yeah,
and you're like why
beer.
would you?
Beer. Why isn't beer? It's cerveza in Spanish, but beer in German, beer. Everywhere's beer apart from Spain.
Yeah, exactly. It's because it's probably an Arabic derivative.
Yeah.
It also explains, by the way, and this is one of the things people don't because we never look at history like fully. It is a culture. The way everyone looks at the way the Spanish and when they conquered Mexico and South America, people don't understand. Like all they were doing is the exact same thing that the Moors did to them for 700 years. In fact, even the language that was used by the Spanish court, as far as like holy wars and stuff like that, and it's all coming out of what the Arabs did when they were trying to for 700 years when they were conquering Spain. So it's just one of those things where it's like it just goes back. It's like you have to understand history, and then you start to see why people behave the way. Like why was beer speaking of beer, like beer was the number one alcoholic drink. It still is the number one alcoholic drink of Americans, but wine was real low, and the wine has grown in popularity. And the spirits are sort of growing, but beer is still the vast majority. It's like, well, why? Well, because all of the initial colonies that came here were all coming from places in Northern Europe where they didn't have wine because of the Monders minimum killed all the wouldn't allow you to actually grow grapes and stuff that you could turn into wine. So it just shows how much history impacts culture, which impacts future generations.
Yeah. I'm just gonna put this up before it goes. Crazy says, if you learn different language, the problem is there is so many dialects of different languages.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I've got a right sore throat.
You okay over there?
Yeah, I'm okay. There is, but like I was saying, my dad's from Sicily, and all those places in Sicily all
Mhm.
have their own dialect,
Yeah.
um, but they all understand Italian
Hmm.
as well as their own dialects, and
Yeah.
you can kind of learn and get it. I
Hmm.
know a couple of different dialects in Sicily, and it's literally just like a play on words with some of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, we don't really have it. I mean, do you have dialects? You don't really have different dialects in America,
So this is one
or
of
do
those
you?
things that, well, okay, it's a yes and no, right? The question is, where do you draw the? It's sort of like the whole question of like what makes a species, right? It's like, where do you draw the line between dialect? I would argue we absolutely have dialects. It's just not as pronounced because when America was being, set up and the cities were being set up, even it was never as no cultures were really all that isolated, relatively speaking. Like what you're talking about in the old world, the reason you have these radically different dialects is because they were in many ways very isolated from the sort of broader culture. Whereas in the US, yeah, like, an East Texan is going to sound very, very different from, say, someone from California who's going to sound different. And they're going to use, like, in Texas, like, in English, there is no proper plural you, right?
Mhm.
Most languages have a plural you. In English, you're supposed to say you all. Here in Texas and in the South, you usually get a y'all.
Yeah.
But there are certain places in the North where you have yins, and
Yeah.
it's yins guys. I remember the first time I heard that. I didn't hear that until I was in my 30s. I was like, "What's a yins guy? What are you talking about?" But you got like yins guys. You got y'all. That's pretty much it. There's like one or two others. Another word like that's isolated to sort of like a South Texas thing, is the word tumped. It's like
So
you have it and you tump it over. So we have different dialects, different ways of saying things, but again, it's still like someone from Texas can talk to someone from New York, like old school Texas and old school New York. There's going to be a few points where you're like, you called it a what? Again, like what we do, right? Like American English and British English are radically different in some ways, but we can communicate very clearly. But like there are people who will argue because there's like German has many of these little dialects that are so radically different that they can't even talk to one another. In
mm,
fact, there are some linguists who will argue that English is nothing more than a German dialect because it's so German, it's so heavy on the Germanic languages. They're like, it's basically just it's a dialect of German. So I mean, it does become a question of where you start drawing lines between a language and a dialect.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I get what you mean.
mhm.
Um, it's everywhere, isn't it? I'm trying to think. We have a little bit here, like you do the y'all and
Mhm.
stuff, but it's not as when I think about Sicilian dialects, it's just like a totally different language, but similar.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
where do you draw the line? I mean, it's
mhm.
just old talk, isn't it? Old
Yeah.
talk. Um,
Well, so a lot of it comes back to, again, this goes back to the history thing I was mentioning earlier, right? Like a lot of the reasons for these older dialects is they were their own languages, right? That so you have sort of like a mother tongue, then an area gets populated by someone who's speaking whatever, let's say the whatever Proto-Italian, let's just say Latin, right? So they show up, they speak Latin, and there's maybe some other indigenous tongues over time because people are separated to towns and cities are kind of keeping to themselves for the most part. They develop their own language, but they're all drawing out of the same well. Again, so like we were mentioning, Spanish, French, and Italian have because they're all drawing from that Latin well, have a lot of similarities.
mhm.
Sort of the same idea. You could even argue that with the exception of the Spanish and its Arabic, let's put that to the side, that you could argue that French and Italian are dialects off of
Mm,
Latin. That's all they are. They're
yeah.
just because they're all kind of, again, it goes back to where you start drawing the line.
Mm,
But that's why you again it's like but like for say America, one of the reasons our dialects developed the way they did is because certain cultures would come and migrate to a region, but they had to learn English, right? So like here in Texas, we have a lot of Celtic derivatives, and then we have Germanic derivatives, right? Czechoslovakian derivatives are here. So they are all speaking English to communicate with one another, but they're coming out of Scottish and Irish and then German and Czechoslovakian heritages. So they're all mingling together. And then they all have to learn Spanish because of Mexico. And
Mhm.
the initial, again, the initial, European immigrants to Texas were actually immigrating to Mexico because it was all Mexico at that point. So that's how our culture sort of evolved, our language set evolved, but it's still English. But you
Yeah.
have these other influences
Mm.
drawing it. But the reason it never gets so far is because there's basically always been rapid transit and communication. Plus, you have the printed word, right?
Mhm.
And so if everyone's using the same words in books and newspapers and things like that, there isn't a chance to really drift far, away from that original tongue.
Mm. Yeah, no, it's really interesting that, and I I'm discovering it. At least talking to people from all over America and Canada, and picking up hints of accents, a
Hmm.
little bit of Italian, bit of Scottish with the
Hmm.
Canadians, like a real
Yeah.
twang. You can hear, and yeah, it's just spread all over when you really think about it. Um, they're unique, but they're not in a but mixed with other countries. Apart
Hmm.
from China, which is quite a difficult
Yeah.
language. But Diane Fowler says the Southerners have a long, sweet drawl.
Hmm.
They do. Well,
Yeah.
speaking Northerners seem to speak faster. That's what I've noticed. Definitely.
Oh yeah.
There's definitely some a difference there.
Hmm.
And Jimmy Crackcorn says Appalachian Hill folks are hard to understand.
They absolutely are, because again, that's a great example of what I'm talking about. The Appalachian Mountains, the groups that sort of live there and have lived there for a long time, they're really isolated in a lot of ways because of their location. So yeah, their accent is actually way harder to discern
Mhm.
than, say, like, even again, an East Texaner versus a Yankee, from New York. Like, you can definitely tell there's a difference there, but like, you get to Appalachia, it's real wild. And again, you still have like language, like word usage, like they're talking about washateria versus a laundromat, right? And
Yeah,
yeah, so it's like,
the laundrette.
yeah, laundromat.
That's what we The laundrette. Anyway, Ray Daw says, I spent a year in the hills of Tennessee, backwoods. Found myself squinting as I
Hmm.
attempted to decipher a sentence. Oh dear, that's bad. Bad when you're
Again,
squinting.
the more isolated the community is, the more likely they are to have their own way of
Home
speaking.
language. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Definitely. There was another comment about a place, but I seem to have gone past it. We moved to Kentucky from Louisiana, and I asked someone where. Oh, that's what you've just said, is it?
Yeah.
Sorry, you're
Yeah.
way ahead of me. I'm still,
It was accidental. I'm sorry.
yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't see that yet. So yeah, and I guess maybe you guys would struggle with a southerner and a northerner, especially someone who's in Scotland to
Oh
a
yeah.
Londoner. You would definitely, I think. And I mean, I
Hmm.
struggle with some Irish accents. I find it
And of
hard
course,
to
there's the
understand.
famous Welsh issue. The Welsh issue.
What's the Welsh issue?
Are you No, don't even play me like that. The people from Wales, no one can understand the Welsh.
I don't find that. I think they're really easy to understand.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, if you actually listen to anyone who's from Wales,
Only on Monty Python.
Monty, but I know you. Look, life here is not Monty Python.
I
Okay,
know. I
Monty
know.
Python
I
is
actually have. No, well, again, it's like Wales is where we pulled up that word no one can
yeah.
pronounce.
All right, yeah, there is that.
Yeah. Uh
But,
huh.
but apart from that,
I get it. No,
it's a
I get it.
beautiful accent, actually, the
Oh yeah.
Welsh,
Mhm.
and they have amazing men's choirs. That the
Mhm.
singers from Wales have incredible voices. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think Irish maybe in some parts you would struggle to understand what they're saying because
Mhm.
I had to, I kept saying what, what. Um,
Yeah. Uh,
oh, yes.
I've had several. actual Irish friends. Like they immigrated from Ireland, and yeah, when you could tell when they weren't trying to be understood. Like if they were getting into it, you'd be like, "I'm sorry, you said what now?"
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's yeah. We're only taught another language at school, aren't we, for some reason? But wouldn't it be nice to choose your language of choice to learn
Hmm.
and have someone teach you? Because I think there's something in that, is being able to go to a place and really fit in with the culture and the language, so you can really understand the humour as
Yes.
well. Is another one, isn't it? That you wouldn't pick
Oh
up
yeah.
if you didn't live it and practice it and do it. The best thing to do is to travel, basically. Go and travel
Mhm.
to a country and just learn a word a day.
Yeah.
Just day-to-day things that you're using.
Mhm.
And
Well, and that's the whole thing. Is that there's certain things you can like certain pieces of humor or just someone's thought process that you don't understand if you don't understand the language it's in, right? You can't translate certain things, certain ideas or concepts because even that culture exists within such a specific um, environment, region, both from a military and sociological and culture and like access to food, access to water. It's like there's so many things that go into what builds a community and a language. It's like someone from one region is not going to find something funny because that's not in their culture. That may be something that's really important, whereas they have an abundance of it over here, right? And some things over here, like the weirdest things, can be rude to one culture. The other culture is like, "What are you talking? Like, why is this an issue? Like
mm,
your ankles? Like you could be topless over here, but if but showing your ankles is the worst thing ever."
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
compliments can be taken different ways because depending on the culture that you're in. So yeah, I mean, there's so much, and you have to learn the language, you have to learn the culture, you have to be in it to understand it.
Uh, yeah, I'm just going to look up the worst thing you can do in a different country, and some really silly things, aren't they? Um,
Oh yeah.
oh, what is it in?
Well, silly to us, but not silly to them. They would think that the things that offend us are silly sometimes.
Where is it where you can't chew chewing gum? It's illegal to chew chewing gum in a certain country.
I have no idea. I didn't realize that was a thing.
Yeah, pretty
Actually,
sure.
now that you mentioned, I think you're right. I think I have heard of it, but I couldn't
Yeah.
tell you. Um,
Lisa Lisa's actually done it. I think you would fit in well with us hillbillies. The Scots and the Irish all migrated here. Many
mhm,
of the same speech. Well, probably would.
yeah.
Probably
Well,
would.
and there's a reason why a lot of the Celtic groups immigrated to the South. Honestly, it's because the British were getting rid of them. Like this is one of those things that isn't really discussed because for political reasons, but up until uh, black slaves were sort of became the vogue. Irish slaves were the thing. Now they'll say, "Oh, that wasn't true slavery." I'm like, "Yeah, it was." But Ireland went from having 6 million to inhabitants to by the time that that trade ended, having like 600,000.
Wow.
That's how many people were shipped over here as slaves, servants, and again, then you had the potato, then you had the Irish potato famine, right? And that
Mm.
because and the Brits weren't really didn't want to help out with that, so they immigrated here. I mean, by the time all that was done, there was less than 600,000 people in Ireland. I mean, it's so again, so that's why you have all this Celtic influence in the South, and so a lot of people immigrating from Scotland are like, well, the Irish are there, we might as well go there.
Mm.
So
Yeah, it's fascinating when I'm thinking about it now and
mm-hmm.
connecting dots to accents that I've heard. Jamie Cotterill, yes, showing the bottom of your feet in Thailand.
Oh yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
that's not good. I don't know why. I'll look it up, shall I?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know that in there are certain cultures where if you were to do this, I think I know there's some in Latin America If you call someone like this, it's an insult. You have to call them like some other way, like you wave or. But if you were to turn your hand like this, because that's how you call a dog to you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to say, "Hey, could you come here?" You're calling them a
Oh,
dog.
right. Okay. Yeah. Got you. Crossing your feet in some cultures are considered very rude. In Japan, you're expected to sit erect with both feet on the floor, never cross your ankles over your knee. The bottom of the feet should never be shown. I suppose because they're dirty as well, or they
Hmm.
could be.
Yeah.
Let me just find the other one about the chewing gum.
I would imagine that the feet thing is probably because that's where where your feet are dirty is on the bottom of your feet. So
Yeah,
it's probably again being hit in Arabic countries, or actually even Arabic, most Semitic and Middle Eastern countries, hitting someone with a shoe is considered the highest insult there is.
right. Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was just looking at that thing for the. It's in Singapore. It's illegal to chew. It's illegal to sell it. It was banned in 1992, but apparently
Okay.
it's not illegal to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever that means, I think it's the. I can't find exactly why, but I would say, oh yeah, the how difficult it is to get it off the floor.
Ah.
The expense of a machine to
Mm-hmm.
clean, and there's so people just leave it everywhere, don't they? I mean, it's the
Mm-hmm.
most probably unhygienic. I remember my desk. Every desk you sat in, you put your hands underneath, it'd be a hard blob of chewing gum from whoever was sat there
Mm-hmm.
before, or 2 days before. So yeah, I guess it's not very hygienic stuff, is it?
No. Well, a lot of this comes back to, and then I was listening to TED Talk, but from a guy in India. It's sort of Western countries have a very different perspective on personal responsibility, right? And to a point, we see a lot of other countries they don't have that same regard. They just see it as some like trash is someone else's problem, and so they just leave it wherever they want. They don't actually. There isn't the same idea about civic pride,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's just it's a cultural thing. And so yeah, I could imagine gum being an issue if you've got a culture like that where there's not that same mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I owned a comic book store, there was a guy who spat. He was chewing tobacco, and he just basically right at the front door. I had three guys. I mean, they just turned around and I didn't even have to do anything about it. They chewed this guy out from bottom to top.
Right.
But they're like, what do you do? I mean, they were swears like this. There are kids who are coming in here. What are you doing spitting your chaw on the sidewalk in front of this dude's business? It's like now you go to a few other countries I've been to. No one would have done anything. They would have been like, yeah, of course it's the street. Why wouldn't you spit in the street? Even though people, London 500 years ago, right? A lot of people, people we just don't understand the way. But I mean, their toilet, they'd all get thrown out the window into the street.
Yeah, exactly. Everything would be there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything. It's even the phrase "don't throw the baby out with the bathwater." That's where it comes from
exactly.
because it actually happened.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it happened. Did it actually happen?
Yes, it did. That was the thing. That's where the phrase comes from. Is they'd be, because again, everything
Well,
was in wash tubs, right? And they'd be
yeah.
and some because think about all the things that you do sort of by rote, right? And they thought they would have taken the baby out, and then they just, and of course, mid chuck, all of a sudden they're realizing there's this baby flying out the window. It actually happened. So that's where the phrase
Right.
comes from. I mean, it wasn't. I can't imagine it being that common, but
Well, I thought it was because in them days that when the man comes home, he got in the tub first. He'd come home, he'd obviously, and he'd be black,
mhm,
and the baby would be the last one to have the bath, and you wouldn't
yeah,
actually be able to see the baby because of the dirt in the
I
bath.
I'd buy it.
Something
I
like
mean,
that.
there's. Well, I
It's
think again, I think it
hilarious.
comes from an earlier age, but still,
Oh,
I mean, the point is, yeah,
can
I can
we
see it.
block? Can we block this? Has anybody spotted this bot that's come in? Um, Oh, thank you, Jean. Well spotted. Well spotted. That's another one, isn't it? It's
Oh,
like
another
that.
Russian.
Um,
Yeah.
another Russian. Or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Popping into seals. I don't know what they want. Here are some. I mean, I hope these are true because I've not done enough research. 51. I'm not going to go through them all. Crazy, stupid laws in Europe.
Well, and some may
Apparently,
be like antiquated and like they're just on the books or they still exist somewhere, but no one does anything about them.
okay. So in Milan, it's a legal requirement to smile at all times, except for funerals or hospital visits.
Hmm.
That's interesting. That's a
Yeah.
legal requirement. So get locked
Yeah.
up if anyone's going to Milan. Keep smiling.
Yeah.
Um, between 3:29 p.m. and 6:47 p.m., people in Madrid cannot ask one another what time it is. What is that about?
That can't be. I gotta call BS on that. That can't be
Sorry,
real.
have
That I can't buy. Okay, hold on.
hang on, I need to
Does it
look
say
it up.
why? Yeah, let's look that one up.
Yeah,
I can't buy that.
it is apparently. The Spanish capital Madrid is probably the most peculiar law out of all between 3:29 p.m. 6:47. It is prohibited to ask what time it is. So
Why?
I don't
Like some of
actually.
these, I kind of see where maybe they're, but like that is the weirdest question ever, or the weirdest law I've ever heard.
Yeah. Well, it's on Google, so it must be
Must
true.
be true. Yeah, yeah. It is the
Um,
fountain of all knowledge.
so yeah,
I got nothing on that.
there's one here about Florida. Okay, so there's no farting in Florida. Thursday
Yeah.
evenings can be the right time to enjoy some clean air outside in Florida because from 6 p.m. on, it is prohibited to fart in public places. I didn't know there was actual law
Hmm.
specifically.
Well, so a lot of those things are
Oh,
going to be like individual, like they're like individual cities or counties. And again, like 100 years ago, you had laws where it's like, hey, you can't swear in front of a woman or a child or a male child under the age of 12, right? So a lot of these things fall under obscenity laws. And yeah, that's weird. I
hmm.
don't think it's the siesta thing because siestas are usually, even in Spain, it's usually more of a 1 to 3 thing. Like, but three, like it's such a specific time, 3:29 to
Well,
6:47. Like,
could be siesta time, but I
huh.
feel like that would be like maybe 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock after lunch. You could be right about that, and then they open the shops up again in the evening, don't they, in Europe?
Yeah, hold on.
So, Fred Muppet, how you doing? What about the UK law that says a pregnant woman can relieve herself in a policeman's helmet? She's always wanted to do that. You'll have to have another kid, basically, um,
Okay, that's
and just do it. You know?
okay. So hold on, there may be something to this because it says between the official siesta time is between 2 and 5,
Okay.
but then that doesn't make. Then again, now it's like between this and this doesn't make like why you can't ask what time it is. That is so weird.
It is, isn't it? It is. I wish they'd give a bit more um, detail. I mean, I could probably get some, but not now because it'll
Yeah,
probably take me a bit to. Um, so, uh, yeah, it's one to think about, isn't it?
yeah.
Men wearing a skirt in public in Italy can be arrested. In Denmark, if a person finds a lost child, they can claim the child as their own if a parent does not turn up within 2 hours. That can't be right.
Well, that's got to be like an old, again, particularly when you're talking about Europe, you're talking about they may have like these laws may be 300 years old, right? And date
Yeah.
back to a time because I mean, stop to think about it. Some of these laws, if they're dating back even just a few hundred years,
Oh, yeah.
plagues, actual plagues,
Yeah.
You know, I mean, some kid just could be wandering
Mm.
around. I mean, because his parents and family have died, or the kid got shipped somewhere because I guess I could see that being a law, but I mean, again, it's from like several hundred
Something,
years ago.
something must have happened, and
Yeah.
that's how they're based on,
Mhm.
aren't they, or something like that. Um, if you challenge a man to a fist fight to the death in Norway, he must accept or pay a penalty of 4 deer. So,
All right, good to know.
uh,
They take that seriously in Denmark, or is Denmark or Norway?
uh, Norway.
Norway. Okay.
Right, I'm going to put this one up in the because I can't pronounce it, but this is another law. I hope I can get it all in because it's quite a big. See if I can get that there. Okay, here we go. You can read it out.
What?
So that name that I can't say.
Yeah, it's the name. That's the name. It's supposed to be the longest.
It is the
Yeah,
longest station name in
yeah, in Wales.
Wales.
Uh huh.
Um, so can that be true?
Oh, I can. Well, I can imagine. Okay, so again, this goes back to it may be a law, but it doesn't mean anyone actually, abides. So, like here
Yeah.
in Texas, it's the same thing, right? That's why
34.
It's
34
like,
is a long time.
yeah, 35. Yeah, well, after 34 years, you should be able to pronounce something. That's all I'm saying.
Hang on a
But like,
minute. Spell it by the age of 6,
yeah, I
but not.
call BS on that one. Like, there's no way.
No.
No, but
This it's on Google, so
must be true.
must be true.
Must be true. But
Must
like
be
here in the state of Texas, right? Like there are laws that date back to when you know post Civil War, right? And it made sense back then, but they're still in the books because no one's ever thought, or there's usually not a way to go back and just scratch them out. So I think a lot of these are stuff that comes from like 200 years ago, 300 years ago, particularly
yeah.
when you're talking about Europe. You know,
Well, this one's an interesting one. Let's have to try and work out how you can get along in life. In Turkey, it's against the law to fall in love with a neighbour's son, daughter, wife, servant, or animals.
well, okay,
So
so
who can you fall in love with? Who can you fall in love with?
I get this. I get the okay. So from a Turkish perspective, I get the son, wife, and animal. But why daughter or servant?
What, the neighbour's son? What's wrong with the neighbour's son?
Well, I think the implication here is that it's a male
Okay.
because it's Turkey, right? So I think
Hang on.
it's an Islamic nation, so I could see that being sort of like the default for it being sort of male centric. So if that's the case, I could see that being a thing
Yeah.
because they're Islamic. But I'm still trying to figure out the servant. But even if it's for females too, then again, why not a son, daughter, or servant? Like that
Is
doesn't
this
make sense.
does it mean his neighbour's son, daughter, wife, servant, or animals? And not just the son? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
Maybe it means all of them. This, I don't
like
know.
you can't fall in love with all of them at the same time.
No. Well, you can't help. You can't
Well,
help who you
then,
love or what you
but
love.
but then this begs the question of what constitutes a neighbor? Is it like a direct neighbor?
Well, that's
Oh,
what I mean.
oh, I
What?
bet I know what this is.
What?
Oh, if I say that, okay, trying not to get us in trouble here. I'm gonna be very vague.
Be careful.
In certain Islamic countries, there have been issues with inbreeding,
Yeah.
and like they've like I know in here in Britain they've done certain tests where immigrants coming particularly from certain nations have like are in like they're showing genetic signs of inbreeding. I bet you that's what this is about. Like we were to see what neighbor means, it's like within a certain area, so that it's to promote leaving again these places where you have these concentrations of people. At a certain point, everyone's cousin, right? And again, that's the old joke about Arkansas, right? It's like a man and
Mhm.
woman can get divorced, but at least they're still brother and sister. Um, I love you people in Arkansas. No, I don't. It's but again, that's sort of that's I will put money. That's why they created that law is to promote, not having flipper babies.
Okay. Flipper babies.
Flipper babies.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I will check all these out before next week and we'll confirm
I
whether or
mean,
not.
yeah. I mean, the animal thing I think goes back to just the
Yeah.
yeah, but everything else I think, and again, the wife thing makes sense. But I think the reason for you don't want to be in relations with your neighbor unless there's some different understanding of what neighbor is. I think that's probably what that is because it's been a real issue with some nations that are predominantly Islamic.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This one is interesting. It is illegal to fly over or land flying saucers in the southern French town of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. This odd anti-UFO legislation has gained the town international popularity.
Well, that's definitely a newer. That's
This is
definitely a newer thing. Yeah.
a
Mm-hmm.
law, you know. Um,
I have two ideas on this, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on it first.
I have absolutely no idea. While you tell me your thoughts, I'm gonna find
You're like,
out what this is about.
okay, so this one specifically, yeah. Let's find this out because I have two thoughts. I think the first and most obvious is it's just a publicity stunt, right? Like the guy in Oklahoma, the legislator who was like, "We want to put up a bounty on Bigfoot," kind of a thing. It's a there are laws like this that are just publicity stunts. They're just ways of getting out there. Like now it's a real thing, but there's a town in Israel that's on the shore of the Mediterranean that actually has a bounty on evidence for mermaids because a mermaid was seen
Right.
there years ago. But they're like, hey, we put up a bounty, come and find it. Again, it's a publicity stunt. That is my feeling about this.
Yeah, you're actually right. Because Châteauneuf-du-Pape is an amazing red wine.
Mm-hmm.
The Côte d'Azur region. A ban on UFOs has now been enforced in the French commune of Châteauneuf-du-Pape for 62 years. Indeed, no visitors from other planets have landed there, which is no doubt due to the ban, says Anthony Avon from the Marais de Châteauneuf-du-Pape in the Provence Alpes Côte d'Azur region. The 1954 law, which is still valid today, forbids the flight, landing, or takeoff of aircrafts known as flying saucers or flying cigars, whatever the nationality, throughout the commune. But it is to create a buzz around the wine from the area, famous for its
A
red
buzz,
wine.
I like that.
Yeah. And he said it worked very well, and they're still getting requests from journalists 62 years later. So I guess it's a law that would never be used or used
Yeah.
against anyone unless
Oh
something
yeah.
lands there. Imagine something landing there, and
It'd be funny.
it's
Hey,
actually
you're
happening.
just giving them a ticket. Like
Yeah,
you can't land here.
yeah, you're right, Texas Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the Bigfoot thing. No one's gonna. Let's not talk about
Yeah.
Bigfoot anyway.
Yeah. No, but
No.
there's laws like this all over the place where
Yeah.
they're laws, but they're really a publicity stunt. I mean, that's actually pretty common. So.
Yeah. Lisa Lou's worried for babies. It is concerning, isn't it?
It is.
It certainly is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look, we made it through
Another one.
another
We
one.
survived.
We survived. We're survivors.
Yes.
That's why. Survival of the fittest, and we're still here. We've just
No flipper babies here.
no flipper
Not
babies
here.
here. Absolutely
No.
not. So thanks
Mm-hmm.
everyone for joining us tonight. Hope we didn't bore the crap out of you. I think we did quite well. It was
Yeah.
interesting. Learned a lot about language and
Oh yeah.
acts and what not to do if you're going to certain
Yeah.
places.
Well, like now we know in Singapore, I shouldn't be chewing gum. I love chewing gum. I chew gum all the time.
Yeah. Don't do it in
Yeah.
Singapore or Japan.
Not in Singapore. No.
Yeah. You'll be in trouble. Thank you, Jean. We love you too. So we'll be here next week. What have you got on this week, Jason?
Well, actually, I just published an episode on Serial Papers on Saturday, where, by the way, because I've gotten like a dozen people asking about this, Serial Papers is never live. It's always a pre-recorded thing that I post. So don't, you can watch it whenever you want. But it's, the paintings that they always show on the Ancient Astronaut shows where it's like, here's the Madonna and look at the background. It's a UFO. Or here's this Byzantine sign of a cross and look, they look like people in spacecrafts. Yeah, basically I showcase that you have to be an idiot to believe that. Okay. I mean, just straight, because they are lying and they're just straight. Like, at this point, I can't even say that they don't know that they're lying because it's pretty obvious that they are. Like, and I even show, particularly the big one where there's like this golden laser beam. I show that they are deliberately manipulating that image so that you can't see what it really is showing. So,
all right.
Yep.
Very interesting. And are you on with Tex tomorrow night?
Yeah, I'll be on with Tex. Yeah, I'm off only the first Mondays of the month. Okay. But now I'm back, and I'll be kicking and screaming, and we'll be yelling about something.
Cool. Sounds good. I'll be back on Tuesday night on BIGFOOT Odyssey for Drawing Bigfoot. It's going to be a good one. So come and join me there Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central. But until then, everyone, have a great week. Have a good night tonight, whatever you're doing. Take care. And I look forward to catching up with you all again soon. Good night, everyone.
Night.